I'm not going to get deep into it, right? I'm not going to do that. But when America's hottest jazz stars were sent to cool Cold War tensions, one of the things that happened is that America had a bad reputation for a lot of good reasons in terms of racism. And so the idea was started. The post-war years saw the entrenchment of the Cold War, a direct standoff between the U.S. and the Soviet Union on the one hand, an indirect battle to win the allegiances of nations across the globe on the other. Propaganda was used to sell the competing ideologies of communism and democracy and to undercut the claims of the other side, as the U.S. Information Agency Director Theodore Schreiber proudly announced in a promotional film in 1954. Now, what did this mean, ladies and gentlemen? What does it mean that happened? Well, here's what it means. Here's what it means. I want to be very, 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 very clear about what it means. It means that America had a problem. And America's problem was that it was saying that we are the best country and we can defeat communism and we can defeat all that other stuff. But the problem was America had the problem of racism. So before I get into the article, just understand that what America did with the help of with the idea of a black congressman decided that the way we're going to help improve America in terms of how America faces to the world is we're going to send out some jazz artists. We're going to send out some of our best. We're going to send them out and we're going to change the image of America. This was Adam Clayton Powell, who was the head of this effort, right? He looks Italian, but he wasn't. Go look him up. He wasn't. You can't just be going by that, you see? You can't just be going by that. You might end up being wrong. Yeah, it still has a problem, but that time they decided that I think America don't care about that problem no more. I think America has moved past it. But I just wanted to say, I wanted to point that out because our icons were used to soften the view of what racism was in America. Our icons and our jazz greats were used by America, social engineering, to make it look as if America was not as bad as America was. In 1954, President Eisenhower wrangled $5 million from Congress to send U.S. cultural groups abroad as part of the growing public diplomacy effort. Initially, they sent symphony orchestras, theater groups, a cappella singers, and folk dancers. The Soviets responded by touring national institutions such as Kiev and Bolshevik troops, though the country's political claims were undermined when star performers like Nora Novich and the point of the matter is, America has always used entertainers as a way to kind of influence us and influence what we think about things. America has always done that. So when I talk about entertainers, understand that I'm talking about entertainers through the lens of politics in a way that political people have always and politicians have always distorted it. So what I talked about last time we got here, we gathered around cheering. Right? The last thing I talked about when we gathered here was how this is social engineering to make us believe we have money we do not have, that we have things we do not have. When I talked about Monique, when I talked about Cat Williams, when I talked about Kevin Hart, when I talked about Kevin Hart's white manager, and today we're going to talk a little bit about Joe Budden's white manager. We're going to have a conversation about the things you are led to believe and the things your entertainers do not know. And I watch all of these people. People don't know how much I kind of lurk around the internet because part of the way I talk to you is being influenced by what all of the people are consuming. And if I don't know what you're consuming, then I can't talk to you. So I always try to figure out what my people are listening to and who they're listening to get a sense of how they're being informed or misinformed. Okay? So just want to give the kind of backdrop for that. Everybody hearing, okay, we all right, too loud, and what? Let me know. But I just wanted to make sure everybody understands, or at least has a basic understanding at some point. You know, hopefully doing a YouTube show, if not a Patreon show, we will really break down social engineering. But that will not be today. And since it's not today, we won't deal with it today. Right? So I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that. It seemed like there was a little miscommunication last time in terms of, well, what are we doing? And I don't understand who she is and why she says this. Well, this is why. So let's get to the meat and potatoes of this thing. Now, for those of you who are asking, no, I'm not really going to deal with D.L. Hughley. And here's why. Here's why. I'm going to give you a very good reason why I'm not going to thank you, A. Gilbert. I sure do appreciate you. I'm not going to deal with him much because the problem is he's going to have to wipe off his camera lens. I'm not dealing with that. Listen, I have had some of the worst camera and some of the worst audio stuff, but I will not talk to somebody. I refuse to talk to somebody who wants me to talk to them through that camera lens. I absolutely refuse. I'm not going to do it. And I will tell you that my problem with DL goes far beyond his refusal to wipe the sweat off his camera lens. It's bigger than that for me. DL, just like Smiley, Ricky Smiley, get their talking points from the Democratic Party. Now, I'm not saying that the Democratic Party is awful. I'm not saying that, well, I kind of am, but that's not the point I'm trying to make. I'm not saying that there are not instances locally, especially where that's who you vote for. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying to you, ladies and gentlemen, and what I want to be clear about is that I don't have a lot of respect for people who take their talking points from the Democratic Party and bring them to us in mass. I have always said, ladies and gentlemen, this is nothing new, that we have to be an agenda-led people. We have to have our own ADOS agenda, and then we have to have a black agenda that we take to politicians. We do not feed our people what politicians tell us. It's the other way around. And I feel like people like D.L. Hughley do that. So my issue with him is a lot different than the issue that other people have with him. My issue with him is mostly political. Although I think, geez, I just think everything, when it goes back to him and Monique, it was rough. That was rough to go back and forth and the kids and stuff like that. But I think that's another reason why if you don't want that stuff to come out, you don't bring it out. I heard him say, well, Monique brought my kids into this. Well, here's the thing. I think she said, I probably shouldn't have said that, but you said that 8 years ago on Sway's show. If I don't bring my life up here, because if you bring it up, that means you dug stuff up on me. It doesn't mean that I put it out there for you. I didn't put somebody's moment out there for you. That's my problem with him, right? We have people who have always been trying to make a bag or make a name for themselves by being the best black Democrat in the room. And I have a political problem with DL that has absolutely nothing to do with this fight. He doesn't know enough to have the kind of political conversations that he has. And like most people, that has never stopped him. So it is not a huge thing, but you're a person who is talking about politics who doesn't know enough to have the conversation. And most people aren't willing, and our people suffer because of it, because you have a bigger microphone than most. So our people go through a lot because of what you do not know and because of what you're unwilling to learn. And if we're going to talk about cancellations and things like that, your show got canceled. So if we're going to have that conversation, let's bring the whole body of work into the thing, can we? I mean, can we have a conversation, a real conversation about the problem with black celebrity? I'm waiting for it. I'm ready for it. But let's just keep going, shall we? So we had Shannon Sharpe, and we had this story. Let me tell you, fam, the thing about this story that was so crazy is that the story just wouldn't stop. Listen, I had anticipated coming in here talking about something totally different, but then I look at the news cycle and we still going. I look at the news cycle and we're still having the conversation. I look at the news cycle and people are still chiming in, but in a very specific way. Understand that people circle the wagons in a way I don't think I've ever seen before in terms of individuals. So people started, listen, they didn't have enough time to react as much as they should have. They did with Cat Williams, right? They didn't have enough time, but they did react, and they reacted to Monique. And I don't think Shannon Sharpe understands the reaction. So what am I talking about? Well, let me just go here for 1 second. So I heard Shannon Sharpe talking to Ocho Cinco, the Ocho Cinco child. And they was wrong for saying you ain't got no eyebrows. That stuff is low. You got some stuff there above your eye. Don't let them talk to you like that. But I was watching him and he said something that bothered me. He said, you know, the thing that happens, he said, Ocho, is every time a black person ascends, there are a lot of people who want to just throw dirt on your name because you are ascending. And I want to say, Shannon, I hope you're listening. That's not what happened. I want you to understand clearly what happened. I have some differences. I may have some differences with Shannon in terms of branding and brand deals and stuff like that, but that's not the moment for that. I like to pick my moments. For me, that's not the moment for that. Let me tell you something, Shannon. I used to like football, CTE, and it just started taking too much of my time, right? It started taking too much of my time, but Shannon and I used to like it. And I remember, I'm old enough to remember when you actually played the game. Now, I will tell you that people loved you. So black people were not hating on you and have not been hating on you because you ascend. People have always loved you, Shannon.